Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? We have an amazing episode prepared for you today. But before we roll into that, we have to thank some individuals. Some amazing, wonderful, beautiful individuals. The ones listed on the screen right over here. The list has gotten so long, I can't even read it anymore. I'm eternally grateful to the Sages of the Lodge, those who donate monthly to keep my nonsense going. Listen, I don't need to tell you where to do it. It's in the episode description. You know that. Enough of my babbling. Enough of the pre-conjecture. It's time to move into today's episode with these amazing guests, ladies and gentlemen. Dare I roll them off? We are joined by AndyBru, KittiesinMitties, and Manny, two first-timers. I want to give you guys some time to introduce yourself, let the people know what you do, and then we're going to jump right into this. So listen, somebody volunteer quickly, jump on in, let the people know who you are, what it is you're about.
Yeah, I'll go first real quick. My name is AndyBru. Hey, what's good, everybody? First of all, Andy, thanks for inviting me on the podcast. It's always a good time here. I'm very excited for today. Yeah, I'm a variety streamer. I do a lot of games, a lot of first playthroughs. That's kind of my thing. So yeah, you can find me on YouTube as AndyBru or on Twitch as AndyBru48. That's where I'm at.
Next up, come on. Why don't you spit it out?
I can go next. So hi, I'm KittiesinMitties. First off, thank you, Landy, for inviting me to be on today. I'm super excited. I play a lot of JRPGs on Twitch. Some of my favorites being Kingdom Hearts, The World Ends With You, and Final Fantasy VII. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. Thanks.
And my name is Manny. On the interwebs, I go by UNKNWNLIVE, and I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, similar to what a lot of the other people here already said, I love JRPGs, and I like talking about all that jazz. And I'm just happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk about all this stuff with you guys.
Excellent. So, look, there's no shortage of things to talk about. There's so much going on. I don't think I haven't heard one theory that I can't poke 15 holes through. So I've had a problem really making sense of the new mystery that's upon us in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But before we get into that, what were your guys' impressions on Remake, and what did you think of the developers saying they wanted to change a few things here or make a new element a surprise? Overall, what were your guys' impressions on that?
I could definitely say that I was surprised a ton by the direction that they went with Remake. Like, I just finished the game recently, doing the expansion and playing through the base game of Remake. And I was expecting like a one-to-one clone, just so people can re-experience a story that was told like over 20 years ago. But the direction that they went in, where it's like, you're taking the story that already existed and kind of adding a lot more depth to it, where you get to just take deeper dives into the characters who are already there, take deeper dives into the environments that already existed, such as like Wall Market being a lot more fleshed out and like seeing a lot more. And I thought that was really cool, in my opinion. As someone who's been a long time fan of the game, it's like, it's not just catering to people who are newer to playing Final Fantasy VII. Even people who've been playing the game for a while get a chance to experience something new for the first time as well. So like, I welcome it 100%. I love the game like so much. And I thought I'd be one of those people shaking my fist like, this isn't my OG game that I used to play when I was a kid. But now I'm like, yo, this is dope. And I like encourage everyone to try it at this point, you know?
Yeah, same here. Like, I mean, I'm not like I didn't play Final Fantasy VII until a couple years ago. Like, literally, I played it right before the remake came out. So I don't like it. Didn't hit me on like a nostalgia standpoint, but like, yeah, like them. I'm actually like really glad like of what we got, because it wasn't what I expected. Because I also expected, I was like, oh, it's a remake. But after playing the game, you realize, wait, it's not a remake in the sense of like it just, you know, here's the old game in PS1 polygon character graphics, and here it is like so much later with like it, you know, updated graphics and like the world's just fleshed out. No, it's a remake because there's certain characters who are quite literally remaking things, you know, and so it's like things are happening. There's characters who are aware of the events of Final Fantasy VII. It's, you know, the remake's more of a sequel than a remake, and that's what's most intriguing to me, because like, you know, it's cool to have like a one-for-one remake, I guess. And, you know, honestly, even looking back at it, like if you really think about it, I would say 90 to 95% of Final Fantasy VII Remake was brutally faithful to the original, you know, just with more fleshed out things in Midgar. But the fact that like now they are changing so much, and it's actually, I'm actually like I'm more intrigued than I thought I would be, right? Because it's like, we don't know really what's going to happen. Like, we have an idea of what to expect. Like, we kind of have an idea of what to expect to play out, but like, really, like, because of how it ended, there's so many ways they can take this, and I'm completely on board with it. So I don't know, I love it. Like, I'm very excited.
With you guys there. I didn't realize that that's what it was going to be when I first picked it up and started playing it. And then when that moment hit, when I realized that it wasn't like a true remake, but it was like a continuation, I personally got really excited because not only do we get to see all the characters that we know and that we love, but I feel like it gives you so much more to look forward to. And it kind of gives you like that suspense, and it makes you think about it a whole lot more. Whereas if it would have been just like a true remake, I feel like I wouldn't, be as excited. I wouldn't be as jazzed and anticipating all the new stuff that they can throw at us. I think it was risky, but I think it's going to be really hecking cool.
Yeah, I think it paid off. I think it's paying off.
Sure. For sure.
Well, it gives you something to be excited about, like, especially considering they were splitting this game up into parts, right? If we all knew exactly what was coming in the next game, the hype wouldn't be here, right? Like, we'd all be ready for it, and, for a lot of us, we'd be day one buyers. Like, I know if they went shot for shot, one for one remake, I would have been a happy customer. But I'm kind of with you guys, where I think what they're doing now is way more fun, way more creative, and again, so much about the original FF7 was that element of surprise. And when you take that away, I feel like you lose a lot of the flavor. So figuring out creative ways to reintroduce that element, I'm all for it personally. But, I'll start with you, kiddies. You got that Zack figure on your desk. When I first met you, you were defending Crisis Core with your life. So,
and I still will.
When the plot ghost vanished and Zack survived, I imagine you if you weren't buckled in already, you were pretty much buckled in for the whole ride. Like, what happened to you when all of that went down? I'm very curious.
Okay. So when we got that scene in Remake where we see Zack and you see him after the fight and you see that he's not dead, I had a lot of questions. And I was okay. So I'm still kind of torn because part of me was worried and part of me was excited, because the part of me that loves Zack Fair was like, oh my God, I'm getting more Zack. Like, Zack's such a great character. Everyone's going to get to meet him. Like, this is fantastic. But then the other part of me was scared because I was like, but Crisis Core had such a perfect ending, such a perfect setup for the next chain of events. So I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of worried as well. But I think with some of the recent stuff they've introduced, I think that I'm more excited than scared, personally, because with them, with Reunion being announced and stuff, like, I think they are just confirming that his origin, that his story is still very, very much important to what's going on. And that was what I was concerned with.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, like, the fact that they're re-releasing Crisis Core as this, like, remake, remaster, whatever it is, like, the fact that they're re-releasing it all with like updated graphics and they want you to know Zack's story. They want you to know this character and his story before playing Rebirth. And it's interesting because one of like the biggest like plot revelations in Final Fantasy VII is like in that disc 2 era, whenever like Cloud really finds out like who he is and he's not who he really thinks he is and all this stuff. And so like when you play through Crisis Core, if you play that without like playing the original, it like kind of spoils like that big twist. And the fact that they are, releasing, they want you to play Crisis Core, they're re-releasing it and remaking it. And, they want you to know the story, which means that it's whatever they have cooking up is worth spoiling like that twist. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like, what are they going to do? And like, how are they going to like essentially one up like what they did in the original FF7 to keep us all engaged and like locked in, because I'm just thinking like, because again, like that was such like a huge thing in FF7, like Cloud's whole identity. So it's like, what do they have? What are they doing?
It's going to be something big.
Yeah.
Oh, it has to be. And I think what it's actually going to be is, part of what Jenova and Sephiroth want is to break Cloud, right? The more you can break him and scramble his eggs, the easier he is to manipulate and control. I actually think him bumping into Zack or like crossing with Zack is going to mess with his brain even more. Like it won't be that charming reunion of, buddy, you're alive. I think it'll like Aerith just saying the name Zack in Remake messed up his head. What would happen if he actually saw him? That's why when you look at Killing Fate and Zack surviving, it's like, who wanted that? Did the planet want that? Or does Jenova want that? Because that can help her break Cloud.
It was me. I wanted that.
Kitties and Jenova.
Kitties and Jenova.
I freaking called it.
We knew it. There it goes. But I'm with you there, Andy. I think considering that was a big twist in the original. But now that they literally want to untwist it for the player, whether this is your first time playing VII or whether you're a legacy player, they want to basically untwist that, and they want you going into the future knowing about Zack and the whole thing going on with Cloud. So I have to think that what they're cooking has to be orbiting that exactly.
Yeah, and and again, granted, you don't have to pick up Crisis Core, you don't have to play it. Like, no one's like forcing you to do that. You could go into Rebirth not even playing original FF7 and still have like a fantastic time. There was I could speak for like my cousin on the matter, but my cousin is like, he's never played really a Final Fantasy game ever, and he played 7 Remake, and it's like he said is one of his favorite games ever now. So it's inspiring him to want to go play the original. So like you can play these games without knowing the original, but oh my gosh, like again, like they want you to know. Obviously, they're releasing Crisis Core for a reason. They want you to know Zack's story, and the fact that Zack is such a critical role going forward, and even the devs like confirming that as well in like recent interviews, how important he's going to be. My goodness, what? I mean, I have like theories, but like, gosh, like what do they have planned?
The Cloud boss fight where you fight as Zack. That's what they have planned.
Oh, like,
dude,
we were
just talking about this earlier.
Literally earlier. Like, what if, let's just say, like, I mean, we could probably talk about Aerith and like all that stuff.
Spoilers!
As we go on.
Spoiler warning!
Yeah, there's gonna be
compilation.
There's gonna be huge spoilers, I'm sure.
Imagine coming here and not even playing the game. So you're just like, what's going on?
So okay, all right. So now that we got that out of the way, okay, great. Imagine if like this time around, if Cloud actually is the one to kill Aerith, if Sephiroth actually makes him kill Aerith, and Zack is there to witness it.
He almost did in the original game.
Close twice. He was this close.
Yeah.
Well,
that would be insane.
If you want,
that would be wild.
How else?
And that would break him.
Yeah.
That's a surefire way to do it.
Look how emo he was in Advent Children, and that's when it wasn't his fault. Imagine if it was his fault. Then Jenova has him. Like, that's the thing. If Jenova can make that happen, Cloud's done for good.
You think
I wonder what that would do to Zack if Zack watched that happen though.
Oh, that would absolutely.
It would Cloud Strife him.
It would Cloud Strife him, yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, do you think that like Sephiroth, because we don't really know, because I think this is happening in like 2 different timelines, and maybe there might be a
What's that about? What's going on
there? The multiverse.
Yeah,
I
think
theories on that.
I think because Fate is dead, like now there is it created like this branch, right, in the timeline. So like there is this branch, and now it's like here's the branch where like Zack is alive, and maybe because like let's just say because now that Fate is dead, because that's what Sephiroth wanted. Let's be real. The fact that he's like using like the whispers and everything to attack our protagonist and to mess things up, and we kill them in the end, and that's exactly what Sephiroth wanted, right? Because he doesn't want a repeat of what happened in the previous Final Fantasy VII because Sephiroth lost, right? So it's like I could see here's what I could see happening. Like there's this different timeline that's happening, and I could see like. Let's say because we killed Fate that like maybe some things will play out the same and maybe some things won't. And with those things not playing out the same, even though Fate's dead, it could still maybe cause some kind of convergence in the timeline. Like I had this theory of like, what if you know, Cloud, because if the game does play out how, you know, FF7 does play out, eventually, like after, if Aerith does die, right, like she does in the original, they're gonna make their way to the crater. Cloud's gonna give the black materia to Sephiroth, and boom, like in my theory, that's where Rebirth ends. I think that makes the most sense to me.
I want to give a shout out. I just want to give a shout out to PB and Jilly, who dropped something in the Discord that showed that the Sephiroth song from the OST, at the end of it, Rebirth is attached. So I think you're 100% right that this game ends with the black materia given to Sephiroth, rebirthing him from the northern crater.
It makes sense because, like, literally, like, this, like, Rebirth is going to be the Empire Strikes Back of Final Fantasy VII, you know, of the remake trilogy. Like, and it seems like the whole remake trilogy is focused on Sephiroth. Final Fantasy VII Remake, what's happening? Sephiroth's literally remaking things, you know?
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely a central part of that story. What's going to happen in Rebirth? Well, what happens in the original? Cloud gives the black materia to Sephiroth, and what happens? He's reborn. And, like, I can just picture it, right? Like, just as, like, in 7 Remake, when Aerith looks up to the sky, and she says, oh, I miss it, the steel sky, and then, bam, credits roll. Barrett and Tifa are in jail, and Barrett looks out the window, and he's seeing meteor fall from the sky. And it's like the same thing. It pans up to the sky. Credits roll. That's the end of part 2. And now part 3 is Return of the Jedi, right? Like getting the gang back together.
Analogies.
Yeah. So but like kind of like where I was like thinking with like the timeline stuff, it's like, what if like in Zack's timeline, he's also making his way to the crater, or maybe Sephiroth or Genova is like, because Zack's got the Mako in him as well. Can he be controlled as well? He's drawing him to the crater, and then something crazy is going to happen there. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a lot. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm thinking a lot of things. I need a drink now.
But Kitties and Manny, how do you guys feel? Do you think there's a second timeline, or do you think they're in the live stream? What do you think the answer to that mystery is? What exactly is going on with Zack here?
Okay, so the second that we saw Zack lived, I immediately thought second timeline. Not gonna lie to you. I thought that there had to be a separate timeline, because there's no doubt that, you know, when you're playing Remake, like the events of Crisis Core definitely happened. You know, like Zack definitely died. All that stuff that messed Cloud up definitely happened. And when he came back and you saw him alive, and then even later after you play the Yuffie DLC and you see him show up at the church, I'm like, this has to be like, that was my immediate thought. I was like, this has to be a separate timeline. And then like even later, like there were interviews and stuff, right? Where Nomura said they weren't changing the past, that they were changing the future. Like to me, that screams alternate timeline.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like, I think during that final fight when you're challenging fate itself, and they show all of the short clips of like Cloud putting Aerith in the water in like the original Final Fantasy VII, as if it's like something that could happen if they were to lose to Sephiroth in that fight. So it's like they don't change the past technically, but they just have something completely different going on in the concurrent present that's going on. So it's like events are changing, and it's like, okay, well, we know what could have happened if they would have lost that fight in Fate right there. It would have just rolled out and been the original Final Fantasy VII. Right. But I love how they kind of like compartmentalized everything into one story. It's like, this is what could have happened, but it didn't this time. So we're going to figure out what happens in this alternate timeline of everything going on, you know? And even like, I know Andy and I talked about this earlier, and I was talking to Umber about this the other day, about the idea of like at the end of the game where Aerith's like, my stomach feels funny. It's like, that was when she was supposed to get stabbed. And that was like going to happen like a different timeline, you know? So it's like all of these events are kind of happening like simultaneously. And it kind of gives you this buildup of like, okay, so if like we know this alternate timeline could have happened, but it didn't. Like, what's going to happen next? And how are we going to see new events roll out through this? Because it's like, the way that I see it is like, even thinking of the Crisis Core thing of how they said, I still don't believe for some strange reason that they're going to keep the game like a 1-to-1 remake. I feel like they're going to add something to it. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, but it has to be something just to make things different. And I know Andy has an idea about this. I don't want to steal his glory.
So, because I was going to ask, do you guys really believe that there's like not going to be anything at the end? I think there's, I don't know.
Okay, maybe something extra, maybe something like hinting at something for Rebirth or something. But I think the game itself is going to be 1-to-1. I really do.
Here's my theory.
Go for it, Andy.
Okay, so Manny and I were talking about this earlier, but essentially, like,
do you and Manny have your own damn podcast before this or something?
we
talked for a while.
We were talking. We were just playing some FF14. It is what it is.
It was lit,
hanging out. But no, we were. So essentially, what I think could happen. So at the very end, Zack is fighting off against all of the soldiers, and you're not supposed to win that fight. Like, he dies. Like, that's how it goes. Well, what if you can unlock an alternate ending where you can actually win that fight, and your reward is like this alternate cutscene that ties into like 7 Remake or 7 Rebirth in some way. Like, I'm not saying you have to actually change how it ends. I don't think that's gonna happen. But they could. I don't know. They could like add something where like if you survive, like, you know, and you get rewarded with this cutscene because in the remake he's alive, you know. I'm curious what Lady you have to say.
Okay, so I'm going to take what you're saying. I'm going to go a little big brain on this. So I
All right,
want to also
go.
provide devil's advocate for the multiple timeline theory, even though I do think that it's very possible that's what's going on. But let's focus on what you're talking about here. They're not going to change anything in Reunion because they don't have to. And I'll tell you why.
They don't have to.
I'll tell you why. Because Genesis. Zack's going to die in the fight. Because like Nomura said in that interview, history has not changed. This is a chance to show the player what history is not necessarily supposed to be, but what is the history we were rebelling against in Remake. So I think everything's going to play out as it should, and Zack's going to die at the end. Here's where your bonus cutscene comes in. Do you remember the end where VII and Nero come to take Genesis away?
Yeah. Right.
And the last canon shot in the compilation is of Genesis taking Vice.
Genesis.
There's so much work to be done. Now, we don't have context for point A and point B. Point A, they pick them up. Point P is the end of point P. Point B is the end of Dirge. What I think is we get the bonus scene right here in the middle where we find out just exactly what they were up to. And I think it's very possible. I don't know, but we know that Sephiroth is, quote unquote, the villain of Cloud, the shadow of Cloud. Much the same way Genesis is the villain of Zack.
Is Zack's villain.
Yep.
Genesis, I think Genesis might be the one who reset this timeline. He's the last cannon shot. He's the last cannon shot in Dirge. And that last shot from Crisis Core, Nero and Vice taking him away, they've had something in mind. And they knew they were going to remake all this one day. This was always the plan. So I think the bonus content you get is we're going to see a little bit further what Genesis, Nero, and Vice were up to. That's my prediction for the Reunion bonus content.
Do you think that Genesis might just be Vice, and like it might just be like some kind of like Vice in the Yuffie DLC? You know, just how like Vice was basically just like Hojo's like whatever, like walking core like body, you know, for Hojo to like, you know, because I don't know, like maybe like that's how they bring him back. Maybe they bring him, maybe I really like what you were saying about maybe the Genesis has something to do with resetting a timeline. I mean, his name is Genesis, right? You know, and the fact that like Rebirth, like the logo, it has like a dawning red, and out of all the characters that could apply to, like one maybe, like the only two I can think of is Vincent, which that wouldn't make sense to me, and Genesis. Now Genesis makes a lot more sense. Wow, maybe like Genesis is just the Sephiroth in Zack's timeline. If there's 2 timelines happening, you know, maybe Genesis is in the crater instead of Sephiroth.
So, so about that timeline thing. So I think
there is 2 timelines happening,
I think there's something like that going on, right? Where, so for instance, I think if there is a second timeline, that timeline exists because we killed Fate. I think that timeline existing is a consequence of killing Fate. That timeline was not, it wasn't there before, but it's there now because we did the thing. Because when you think about it, we're already doing Remake, right? And Sephiroth and Aerith know what's going on. So are they from the future? Are they from another timeline? I feel like if you do too many timelines, we're going to start to get sloppy here. So I almost wonder if there's something else going on. Because look, I've played a lot of Final Fantasies. I think I've played 9 or 10 of the numbered titles. There's really no alternate timelines going on anywhere. Hell, in Kingdom Hearts, there's no alternate timelines to be found.
Right.
So I'm a little bit skeptical of like, well, why now? Why would you do that now? What if instead where Zack is and where Biggs is some sort of separate world line that's been set up? Like a world of data, a world of dreams, a world of something.
Okay.
Maybe this is where all the dead people are going. Maybe Sephiroth and Genova's working something out where they're storing all the dead characters somewhere. You know what I mean? I don't know, just a guess. But I almost, like, sometimes I wonder if that 2 timeline thing is it. Because I almost feel like it's too low hanging of a fruit. It's too easy to pluck and have it make sense. I feel like they really want to break our brains like Cloud. So I can't help but almost interrogate it and be like, I wonder if it's something else. I wonder if it's
Do you think it could be like a byproduct of something with the life stream?
Yeah, almost like a failsafe, right? Because the planet has a failsafe. That's what Omega is. Maybe the life stream has a failsafe, and that's what's going on now. Or maybe Genova is creating her own life stream, and her way of baiting people into it is like, look, Aerith, Zack's alive over here. If you just come over here into the Genova life stream, things will be fine. Same with Cloud and his distortions, right? You could do it that way too. Cloud, Aerith's alive over here. If you just come over here, I don't know. I can't help but think maybe there's something other than a timeline, but timelines are very possible. So
I just had the thought that, like, what if, like, because I never really gave this much thought, but like, what if, like, you know, because we see Biggs alive at the end of 7 Remake, which is like, whoa, you know. And Jesse's gloves on the table, you know, and it's like, we don't know what happened. We haven't seen Wedge. So it's like, what if, like, I just thought it'd be kind of cool if, like, if whatever is going on with the Zack stuff, if he formed a party with, like, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge or something.
The party of the dead!
Yeah, like, come on, that would be super
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
you know, or like Zack, like, makes his way
Angel
to, like,
too. He could reunite with Angel, but that'd be rough. That's 2 of the same class. They're both busy, but never mind. No, forget I said anything.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, I mean, like, I don't know. I think that'd be interesting because, like, that's your, like, if you really think about it, like, yeah, that's like, you got, like, we have, like, Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, now Red 13, and then we have 4 people over here. I don't know. Like, it's just a theory. Like, what if, like Zack could, like, go to, like, the gold saucer and then Jesse's, like, on stage, like,
I expect that
like,
at this point,
you know, or like something like that,
and
you know?
She won't
like,
even recognize us.
Yeah, you know, so it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen, and I don't really think, like, I don't know. I don't really think, like, anything's really out of the question because of this whole thing of, like, Fate's dead. You know, well, I'm someone who, like, I really think that, like, we're going to see a lot of similar events take place, but it's just there may be, like, a little twist on them, but I still think we're going to see, like, these things take place.
They've told us that.
You know?
I think Nomura said in the latest interview, he's like, you're going to go everywhere, just in a different order, and we're going to touch on all the same things. So I know that's a relief for a lot of people.
Yeah. Because that's what a lot of people just want. Like, a lot of people really just, like, even though there's this crazy twist on the story now, a lot of, like, you're catering to, like, the people who just want the original, and you're also catering to people who are like, all right, how are you going to spice this up? But also at the same time, like,
I thought Remake was the perfect blend.
Me too.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I agree.
The twist really came in, like, at the end. Like, man, I lost my freaking mind when Barrett got freaking stabbed.
Oh, I thought he died.
I was like, yo, I lost my mind. I'm like, stop it. Like, this is no way. And it's like, just kidding. It doesn't really work with the fate that we want. And I'm like, so how far can they actually push this to the point where they're doing things differently while keeping things in the order that these whispers want them to be? And it's like, it was something I was definitely thinking about and, like, trying to theorize. And I'm like, another person that I was, like, thinking about in this game, it's like Rufus. I feel like he's going to play a huge part into this next game, you know, because it's like, and it's just like, I was just looking at, like, I was kind of going over some of the stuff with Final Fantasy VII OG, and it's just like him becoming the president now. And, like, I believe he was able to see the whispers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And it's like, what does that mean for the future of the game? How big of a role is he going to play moving forward inside of all of this stuff? And it's like, there's just so many questions, and kind of like what Andy said, like nothing's really off the table per se. So like, I'm really curious, but the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is like, I really want to know more about like Sephiroth's upbringing, because it's like, you don't really hear him say much aside from like, oh, Genova's my mom and then my father, let's not talk about him. And he just kind of moves forward with that. So I'm like, what's going to happen? Are they going to add stuff here that's going to collide even more with the plot that's developing? And it's like, I just have so many questions about a lot, but like, I'm terrible with theories because it's like, you're just kind of grasping at straws at some point. You just have to kind of wait and see what the developers decide to release, and you have to go with it, you know?
But grasping at straws is fun, Manny. That's the fun part. That's the best part. Listen, I have a lot of hopes for Rebirth. One is bring me Cisne, please. Long overdue. Can you imagine, for all you Crisis Core nerds out there, can you imagine you go to Gongaga, you go to Zack's parents' house, and there's Cisne having tea with them, watching over Zack's parents just like he asked. Personally, that's the kind of stuff I just need to see. I just need to see it.
I would cry.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I would just cry, honestly.
Like, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I don't think we really. What was the last time? What's like the last time in Crisis Core that you see Cisne? Because like
right before Zack makes his great escape, she hooks him up. She gets them off his tail for a while. She says goodbye, and then he says something like, "Take care, Cisne." He's like, "Not my real name." And then she's out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be nice. I know there's a lot of Cisne fans out there. You know,
there are.
Yeah, so like,
cool.
She's the coolest Turk. I used to be a rude
down.
guy. I used to be a rude guy. I love rude.
What about Vincent? Vincent was a Turk.
Well, Vincent as a Turk got cucked by Hojo, so hell no. Hell no.
Nah, he screwed himself over.
You're not wrong.
He screwed himself over, man.
He is a past Turk. He's not a current Turk.
Yeah.
The Turk life
the oldest passed away.
I would not tolerate this Vincent slaughter any longer.
Listen, I love Vincent, but he's not wrong.
I love Vincent too, but we gotta accept the fact.
But he's not wrong.
These things happen. What are you gonna do? Hojo was a powerful man.
Unfortunately,
that's something I want to see more. You know, going on that, like, I want to see Sephiroth kind of hating on Hojo a little more.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
more than a little more.
Like, can you imagine Vincent could have been your dad? And it's like, oh, I could have had the vampire guy. Hojo, come on.
Yeah.
Like Lucrezia.
How did Lucretia or whatever her name is even
Lucrezia?
Yeah. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Like how I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe she has a type. I don't know.
I think she's like, it seems like she's like really easily manipulated. Like how they kind of just like got her to do what they wanted him to, or
just like Sephiroth being manipulated by Genova.
Man.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What if Sephiroth is the one to like kill Hojo like this time around?
Please.
Like,
I'd love it.
It's just a thought, you know?
I think everybody'd be down for that.
I think we'd all be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
The only thing I want from Hojo in the later games, I want the scene of him on the beach in Costa del Sol. Yeah. Just like, I'm getting a tan right now. With all the girls around him just chilling. Sephiroth comes out of nowhere, just like, boom, in the middle of that scene. Just ruins the whole thing. Best family reunion ever, dude. It would be great.
You wanted Genova reunion, you got it.
Oh my god.
Well, let's go on that for a minute. What is it you guys want to see from Rebirth the most? Like, what's gonna make you a happy customer from Rebirth?
Oh man.
Man, I mean, gosh, for me, I don't want any party members to be optional, and I don't think they're gonna do that. You know, like I don't think Yuffie. There's no way Yuffie's gonna be optional this time around. There's
better not.
There's no way. I can't see them making like Vincent optional. Like, I want to actually, at least playing the game, I want to actually feel like that we're a party and we're actually traversing across the planet, not just having my 3 people that I'm using the entire time. Because let's be real, like I literally used probably the same like 3 party members the entire playthrough, and it's like it just didn't really feel like I was we didn't really feel like a party. Like, if they can make us feel like, whether it's like on the fly, you could just switch party members into battle. Like, oh, Red 13's about to die. Let's switch in Yuffie or something. I don't know. Like, I want to, I hope they make it in a sense where it's like, we feel like we're actually like a party, like actually traversing the planet. Like, it's actually an adventure. I'm not saying it wasn't in FF7 because it was definitely an adventure. But it definitely just feels like some characters, at least, I mean, it's typical in JRPGs. Characters get benched. You just don't use certain characters, And so whether that's the use with like, hey, like we had in the Yuffie DLC, we had team up attacks with Sonon. Like, let's have
awesome.
unique
team
up attacks with like, dude, let me see like, I don't know, freaking Barrett like chuck like Red 13 off of his arm gun into like some enemies, and then like, or something happens, or like, let's see like a cool like Aerith and Tifa team up attack where Aerith pulls out a steel chair and like knocks somebody out, and then Tifa dolphin kicks them right in the face. I don't know, like, just I think I don't know. I just want to see like, I don't want any of these characters to be optional, and I don't think that's what's going to happen. And I think like how they have been, I really like the dialogue and the character interactions that they really have put in place in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, it feels so natural. Like, whenever like you're Cloud and you're traversing with Aerith through the slums after you fall through the church, it's just like such a fun like she's like messing with Cloud. It's such like a natural, fun conversation. And I think we just need more dialogue and conversations like that as we're just but with these other characters, I don't know.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, like the biggest thing for me with Final Fantasy is like how much they fleshed out what was already there. It's like, hey, we already have Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. Let's give them actual character this time, So like, more about them. Where you go to Jesse's house, you find out that her dad works for Shinra, and and that she has like this aspiration of being like a dancer. It's like all these things that are like, you have so much content already with Final Fantasy VII OG. You can bring so much more out of it and like add so much more stories to what's going on. Like, I would love to just hear more dialogue about just like kind of the universe in regards to what's going on. And like the biggest thing for me is like, I just want to take that deep dive into like Sephiroth's childhood. Because it's like every single game you see him in, he's just already wearing the black cape and already has his huge sword. Like at the beginning of Crisis Core, he's already destroying people. He's like an amazing soldier. It's like, I want to know how he got there. I want to see what his childhood was like. Like, I know Cloud, he kind of wanted to prove himself. So like that had a lot to do with his character, and it had to do also with kind of like battling the personality that he had in the OG7, and he finally comes clean at the end of like, you know what? I was afraid, I was a coward, and on top of this, Genova and all the things going on. It's like, I would love to know what got Sephiroth to this point, because like we all know what happens in like Hojo's laboratory when he's like reading the books, finds out about everything, goes crazy, and it's like, I'm curious to know like what even started the method to the madness, Like I think that would be really
pre-soldier, right? Sephiroth. Like,
I want everything, dude. Like, it'll be so good for us to just finally get a chance to understand like the method to his madness. Like, we know that he has so much anguish towards all this stuff through the dialogue that he talks about, but like he's always looking forward, but I kind of just want to look back and see like, okay, what happened? Like, who hurt you, bro? Like, how'd you get to this point, man? And like, I think it'd be really cool for like everybody to kind of just go through that experience with him,
Yeah. So personally, now this might be a very small ask, and for a couple of reasons, but I would like more Yuffie screen time. And not just because I'm a huge Yuffie fan, because I am. I love her so much. She's great. But I thought that there was a lot of really cool and compelling story going on in her DLC with Sonon. And I think there's a lot of good stuff there that we can learn more about. And I feel like we're not done with him yet. I feel like he still has a role to play. And I'm not sure if we'll get that, in Rebirth necessarily, but that's something that I want to see more of, just in general.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if they're going to use Sonon like as a puppet for like.
Oh, I absolutely think they are.
Because the way that he grabbed him at the end. First of all, can we just talk about the fact that homie got stabbed like 3 times? We're trying to have this sentimental moment, and it's just like he just keeps getting stabbed. I'm like, I want to cry, but I'm pissed right now. I'm like, let us have this moment, man.
I was crying. bawling actually.
Bro, I was like, the water was like starting, and then he just gets stabbed, and its tears just go right back. Like, wait, it's still pretty bad, man.
I just feel like there's so much potential there, though. Like, I feel like there's so much more that's going to happen there and that's going on there, and I really want to see it.
That and the fact that her dad is in jail now. That's new.
That too.
That's new. That is not not intact with OG. That's one thing I'm excited for, is like making Wu-Tai an actual place. Because it's such a
instead of just completely missable.
Yeah, it's such a big part of the lore. Like half of what's going on is built on the Wu-Tai Midgar war. Like I want to see Wu-Tai, and I want to see more of Yuffie's anguish. There's a good side quest in the original that does this, but I think they could flesh it out more. That she's really, and I love this too, because this kind of binds her to Barrett in the same way, where they're trying to hold on to an older world, right? Where Barrett is trying to hold on to like the coal mining of Corel as opposed to Mako. Yuffie's trying to hold on to the shinobi life, which Wu-Tai has abandoned post-Midgar war. Midgar wins the war and basically, in a sense, starts to westernize in Midgar terms and leaving the shinobi world behind. I would love to see so much of that with Yuffie. Like, I would love to see that pride. They show you that in intermission, that she has this pride about being a ninja, about being a shinobi. I just want more of that. I think there's so much to explore there.
Yeah, and I think like because I really think Rebirth is just going to be massive. I think it's going to be the biggest game in this trilogy. Because like realistically, like think about all the places you go to. We're going to Cosmo Canyon, so like that's all Red 13 stuff.
Yo, we're gonna go to Key, man. That's gonna be cool.
We're going to Corel. We're gonna get Barrett and Dine's whole story. Like, we're probably on it. We're probably gonna go to Wu-Tai. Like, let's be real. I think like I really think like.
We're going everywhere. We're going everywhere.
This is a funny thought. I think Yuffie's gonna join the party very early on.
I hope so.
I think it would just be really funny if like. What if like the way that you like go back to like level 1 and start over is because you guys are just like on your way to Calm, you're camping out for the night, and then she sneaks in and steals all your materia. and then you're gonna go find her, and it's like an early game boss or like a tutorial boss or something, and then she joins your party. Or I don't know, you know? It just sounds fun. I don't know if they're gonna do that, but like, yeah, I think she's gonna join very early on.
Yeah, the way that the DLC ended, where she was just kind of alone and she was like, I want you to be a part of like my team. It's like clearly she wants to kind of like be with other people. Even in the OG game, it's like she kind of just came out of nowhere, took their stuff and just wanted to follow them everywhere. And like the dialogue that you pressed was literally like neglecting her. I
need her posing as like a merchant in Costa del Sol and just like, oh yeah, I work here, you know, just as like a fun thing. I want like all that like goofy stuff that was in the original in here, and you know that's what they did in 7 Remake. Let's be real, like they kept like that. There was times where it was serious and there was this tone to it, but like, dude, OG FF7 is goofy as heck, and the remake was also goofy as heck in a lot of places. You know.
Well, I hope they
keep that going.
I hope they never lose that. I feel like,
and I don't think they will.
Me neither. I mean, Chocobo Sam, Madam M, Andrea Rodeo. Like, we're keeping it silly, dude. You don't gotta
Rodeo, baby.
And I love the Wall Market 3. I hope they make a comeback. I hope they have something to do in the final act. Even if it's just like evacuating citizens or something, I'll take it. There's just, I don't know. As far as Rebirth goes, one thing I want to is a lot of those slice of life moments, you know?
Yes.
Kind of like what those intermission bonus cutscenes were, where they're just walking on the highway. They're just talking, you know, they're just talking. I don't know.
It's a natural adventure, you know? Yes. Like if we were to get out and like just go for a walk like 20 miles to like the next city, whatever, and like, you know, we'd be having conversation, we'd be talking, we'd be having fun. It's natural, you know? So like to see stuff like that whole sequence at the end of intermission when it's just like Cloud and the gang just they're going to Calm and they're just like talking. It's like, you know, Tifa is teaching Aerith how to hitchhike. That's so wholesome. Oh yeah. I need more of that. And you know what? Give me more of that just to rip my heart out later on.
I'm gonna say, I think that makes them. You know? I think that makes them more relatable. I think that makes you
absolutely.
like you grow with them more. You know, you see those little moments and like you really hold on to them.
Yeah, I need more quippy moments. What I like, whenever literally the funniest moment in 7 Remake was whatever after like Cloud, like he gets dressed up as a girl and then like they fall through wherever and then Tifa's there. She's like, "Oh, Cloud, is that you? Oh my gosh, he like doesn't even look like." He's like, "Yeah, nailed it. I know. Moving on." You know, I need like more moments like that.
More
please.
sassy Cloud.
Yes,
More sassy
please.
Cloud, please.
Yeah, I love the cringe.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Like I know like even them about to get to Wall Market when they were going through like the sewers, and every time you got past a certain part, like Aerith would try to give you like a high five, and it's just like super awkward. Then Cloud finally goes back and tries to get everyone, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, and I'm just like, "Oh gosh, dude."
I need help. I need some serious help about this chapter. I've been trying to figure out what's going on with hands. That whole chapter, it's all about hands. The high five, the hand crane, Madam M is like a hand masseuse. I'm like, what's going on here? What am I missing? What am I missing about hands? I don't know. But yeah, like silly stuff like that is great. But what I also want to see, like, there's something about the original that always meant something to me. And I hope they keep this up, not just with the characters we already know, but with the new characters they want to introduce. And it's that every character, especially the heroes, what they have in common, they lost the world that used to give them an identity. They all lost the world that used to give them an identity. And I want to see that left, not only left intact, but I want to see it fleshed out more. I feel like in OG FF7, that was a very read between the lines kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they do that again, that's okay. But I would love to see that sort of like presented a little bit more. You know, just stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think like, I mean, I think we're seeing, you know, kind of that theme, even with Yuffie too. Like, like you see that theme with her. It's like, like she literally in a matter of minutes at the end, everything gets flipped upside down.
Oh,
you know,
my
and so it's like,
oh yeah,
ridiculous.
And so you know, it's cool because it's like, you know, this is just like this whole party is just a ragtag group of misfits, right?
Yeah.
But they all have one thing in common, and they've all really lost something. You know, whether that's like a person or like, you know, their home or like whatever it is. You know, like somebody has lost something. You know, and that's such a central theme. Yeah. That's such a central theme of like FF7, and that's why, like, you know, like I'm bringing it here, but like, you know, Aerith's death, why that's so impactful, you know, because like it's like that's just a big theme in FF7, you know. So let me ask you guys this: do you think Aerith is actually going to die, or do you think something else is going to happen? Yeah,
I think she could, but I also think there's some other options potentially that could be just as impactful.
Like what?
What if it's not Aerith that dies? Like, what if it's a Tifa?
No!
I said what if?
All the Tifa stands in chat are rioting right now.
No, I'm just saying. But do you not think that could mess Cloud up just as easily?
Yeah.
If not worse.
She's the only one that can rebuild him. When Cloud's brain turns into scrambled eggs, there's only one person in the whole world that can repair him because
it's Tifa.
Okay.
I'm going to make some Aerith stands upset.
No.
Absolute
So then
chaos.
if Sephiroth truly wants to scramble him then, right? Would that not be the move?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think he'll have every
I'm just
reason.
saying. Like, not that I want her to, but like, is that not a possibility?
No.
Would that not get the job done?
If I was Sephiroth, I would have every reason to want to kill Tifa. If I was Genova, I would have every reason to want to kill Tifa because
that's what I mean.
Tifa's the only one left who knows who Cloud is before Soldier, before Shinra. She's the only one who knows him before he became tainted by that world.
Yeah, and I think like also too, I mean, gosh, because like killing Aerith screwed Sephiroth in the end. She uses the live stream like.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like,
so why would he make the same mistake?
To kind of go against that point, like Sephiroth did the right thing, but he was a second too late because he gave Aerith time to pray so that the materia was actually able. So it's like he did the right thing by killing her, but he was like a second too late. So I think his focus will be very similar. Like, how can I just do this a little bit faster this time to make sure she doesn't do that? But I know I was thinking about this earlier, but I want there to be like, I think Aerith dying in the story is what makes Final Fantasy VII so iconic. Like, it's not the perfect story.
I do agree.
It's everybody leaves with a wound. Like, oof, man.
Yeah.
Like, she was super cool and we can't have her in our party anymore. Yeah. And in a sense, you're able to relate to the characters in the game because they all lost something and you feel like you lost something as well because you no longer have Aerith in your party. So you feel the same.
You lost your healer, man. What the heck?
It's like, yo, bro, like, what the heck? But it's like, what I want is like, I want Aerith to choose the fate of the world by her choosing to want to sacrifice herself. And I want Zack to be present when that happens.
Yes.
I want Zack to literally
rip my heart out.
Aerith say, like, this is what we need to do. It can't be any other way. Yes. And I want Zack crying, like, no, you know what? Like, I miss you. And like, it'll be epic, man. That'll be freaking amazing.
I don't think I'll have a heart after that. It'll just be gone.
And I really think, here's what I think could happen if there is something different to happen this time around. Because I can see Sephiroth targeting Tifa 100%, but I still think, I honestly still think Aerith's going to die. I don't know if it's going to be the same as how it was in FF7, but like, I can see them like giving you this false hope that you can save her. This whole time, like, Fate is dead. Like, the audience has false hope that we can save her. And even like maybe even Cloud, because Cloud has visions of literally her dying, like very quick visions of, you see her materia fall from her hair and you see her pray. Like, he's having this vision. So like, he's seeing kind of what's going to happen. And I think there's even one point where I think he even like cries and he has no idea why.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. So like, they could give you this false hope that you could save her. And what if you actually do find a way to save her? Because, Fate's dead. Things are different. Things could change. It's not completely off the table. But Aerith, along with Sephiroth, these are the two people who know, they're very aware of the events of Final Fantasy VII. I think she knows she has to die. I think that's maybe the one thing that cannot change. Because if she doesn't die, then like maybe the timeline gets messed up or like whatever happens. I think she knows she has to die. And I think even if like, let's say Sephiroth doesn't kill her, maybe he does, I don't know. But if like they do give you this false hope that you could save her, and maybe you do find a way to save her, I think she gives herself up and sacrifices herself in the end. So I think in the end, I can't see her surviving, And again, like I think Manny was saying, dude, Aerith's death not only is one of the most impactful like moments in Final Fantasy VII, it's one of the most impactful, it's one of the most memorable like video game deaths of all time. Yeah. Everybody talks about it. It's like common knowledge in gaming at this point for like a lot of people. I mean, maybe not for some people, but like it's literally like, I don't know. Like I knew about her death before playing the OG 7, not knowing really anything about FF7, So it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm just like wondering, like, if you didn't kill her off, how are you going to make the story just as impactful? Well, but I can't, I honestly like, I think she's still going to die.
I think she still gets the axe. I do. I think because again,
it would play out differently.
Just like in the original compilation, her and Zack, I think, belong in the live stream together as guardians of the planet. Yeah. There's an ending about that really works for me because they're two self-sacrificing heroes. That's kind of what it means to be a hero. You then transcend into the next life. So I'm with you. I think Aerith makes a self-sacrifice, and I think even Zack is going to end up making the same self-sacrifice. I think Aerith becomes Zack's hero in a way. Like Aerith, because Angeal failed, right? Angeal was a failed model of how to be a hero. So, Zack was a successful model. I think he's going to watch Aerith do it. And I have one thing to add for the death scene, by the way, not just with Zack.
Go for it.
But do any of you recall the date scene with Cloud and Aerith from the original?
Yes.
And what Aerith says to him at the end? I want to see you, the real you. It would make me so happy if whenever Aerith dies in this game, if beforehand she can see the real Cloud. And if right before she dies and sacrifices herself, she says, I'm glad I finally got to see you.
Bro, don't do that to me, bro.
And just like that, there goes my heart.
Yeah. Wow.
Because that's what she wants more than anything. She knew in OG
You're
that she
right.
was seeing someone imitating Zack, and that's why she was drawn to him. And then she realizes none of this is fair to Cloud, and that she wants to see the real, authentic him. But the thing is, the real, authentic Cloud is going to cause a lot of problems for what we have going on, and that's where Tifa comes in.
Yeah.
Which I want to see that too. At the end of the day, I'm sorry if I upset anybody with this, but at the end of the day, Tifa's all Cloud's going to have at the end of the day. And Tifa, again, for as good a friend as Vincent can be, like he is in Advent Children, as good a friend Sid might be, and Zack might be, and Aerith might be, there's only one person who really, really knows him. And I want to really see that leaned on too. And I feel like that was the point of them really showing you not just one scene of them as children, but multiple. And I wonder if they're going to flesh out, like one thing I want to see fleshed out in Rebirth, the story of Tifa falling off the cliff with Cloud, and then like the whole village blamed Cloud for it. Like that's a big moment for him too.
Yeah. That's not really, that's a pretty like, they talk about it, but like, and they show like a little flashback, but like, yeah, that wasn't really fleshed out too much. Like I want to see people like reacting to it. You know, like let's get
so
more.
Much,
bring it more to life.
There's so much from the original that's gonna freak people out. Like, are you people ready to watch an HD Sephiroth morph into Tifa? Are you all ready to watch? To watch Cloud pounce on Aerith and start beating the hell out of her. Like, are people ready for this?
They're definitely going to censor that. There's no way they're going to include that.
No, they gotta go for it.
I think at the end of the day,
I hope they go for it.
Man, I think at the end of the day, like with all of, because things could play out differently. But I think at the end of the day, like even like let's say like we were talking earlier, like Aerith sacrifices herself, and maybe Zack is there to witness it, and then he ends up making some sacrifice in the end. So things, play out differently, but at the end of the day, all the same conclusions are still there.
See, I'm not sure I like that. I'm not sure. Why are we killing Fate if everything's going to end up exactly
and that's like
way?
the devil's advocate to what I was actually just going to say. Like, why did we, Fate's dead, so it's like, wow, really anything can happen.
Well, that's why I'm trying to wrap my head around that too, right? So what needs to be different? You know what I mean? Like, what needs to change? And I'm wondering if it's connected to that scene at the end of OG, which is technically the furthest chronological, where you see Red 13 and his kids, and they run and they look at the cliffs of Midgar, and Midgar is being swallowed by the earth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. What that implies, does that mean Midgar is done? Does that mean the human race is done? They left that very open-ended. But one thing...
It means the next Final Fantasy game after the remake compilation is going to be a Red 13 game. That's what I mean.
Listen, when this is all said and done, we're going to get a lot of FF7 games after this. I don't think it stops with this trilogy.
Oh, no way. They're making too much money. It's not going to stop.
Bro, I just want a proper Dirge of Cerberus remake.
You're going to get it.
They massacred my boy. Like, I was so upset. I was like, yo, he's my favorite character. But I can see what they were going for. They were doing something experimental. It's like, let's just use the Final Fantasy VII name. Let's try to make some DMC clone kind of, and didn't really hit the mark. But I love the stuff that they did with the the Deep Ground and the intermission expansion. How like they had the soldiers who were dressed up exactly like how they were in Dirge of Cerberus, how they showed Nero and they kept him true to his original self. And it's like, I really do hope that they keep fleshing out the Final Fantasy VII stuff and just give me a remake of Dirge that's good. I'll be happy.
And I think you're going to get it. They did mention it in an interview. Dirge of Cerberus was brought up, and Nomura didn't rule it out. In fact, he said, he's like, originally we actually thought about doing that, but it's on the back burner for now. So honestly, you might get your wish. I think there may be a Dirge remake in the future. But the only thing I was going to add on to before is I think what needs to be different about Fate is the city of Midgar itself. Remake went out of its way to actually make you sympathize with the people of Midgar, to actually make you sympathize with the people who work for Shinra. And you have people like even Avalanche in Intergrade. You have these people saying like, Midgar is not a bad place. The people here are great. like there's hope. Like even Aerith talks about like the plate and everything. It's like, oh, all those dreams woven together. How could something like this be bad? You know, Aerith sees Midgar for its beauty. For all its warts, Aerith is able to see the beauty in it. So I have to wonder if what needs to change about Fate is if it's actually about saving the city of Midgar itself. You know, can you destroy Shinra without needing to destroy Midgar? I actually feel like that's part of what's going on too.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I mean, I'm just like thinking back, you know, like especially whenever you get that first Zack cutscene, you've got a crap ton of fates like circling around Midgar, right? Yep. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's like a crazy thing to think, you know?
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I honestly think that like, I mean, looking at the original game, Shinra were technically the people that destroyed the Sapphire weapon. Like when they were making that stand, they shot the cannon right at the weapon's head to destroy it. Considering like how much they're really investing into Reeves' character of him being like, we have to look after the people. I can see him playing a bigger role, especially because he's going to be the one controlling Katsif, you know? And it's like, I would really enjoy to see more of an aspect of like, because even with the people in Avalanche, it's like they're, or specifically Barrett with a lot of his dialogue, he's like, I'm doing the right thing, but like innocent lives are being taken as he believes that he's doing the right thing. It's like, oh man, a few people, you know, if they die, it's okay, but as long as we're saving this, and Shinra's the terrible people. And it's like, there's some money hungry people like the president, but there's so many good people out there. It's like once you start seeing the panic in the city, you start realizing like these are innocent people who literally are just trying to feed their families and just make enough to get by. I would love to see something more along the lines of them partnering, like not necessarily with people like Rufus or something like that, because he just seems evil all over. But like I would love to see them kind of doing more of a bit of a collaboration, like the people in Avalanche with the other people, because like when humanity is on the back foot, you kind of get desperate and you start wanting to join forces with people and you want to try to make things work a specific way. Like, and it's just like, I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things I was thinking about. I'm like, on their back foot, Shinra was like actually the people who paved the way in a sense, killing the Sapphire weapon and breaking that shield so that the people in Avalanche were able to get over there. So I'm like, what if they did a little bit more on that inside the remake where they're helping a little bit more to help them to reach their goal, even though they don't see eye to eye on everything, you know? So I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about earlier and I thought it'd be pretty cool.
I could see that, but I don't know. I always saw it as the party and the Turks kind of stand in opposition to Avalanche and Shinra, because like there's no good guy between Avalanche and Shinra. Like Avalanche is just a straight up death cult, you know, at the end of the day they're just a straight up death cult, like trying to use death to summon a weapon. And then you got Shinra over here, which is chasing the promised land and is willing to go to any length to reach there. I kind of like the idea that these factions that kind of highlight the worst of Midgar would actually fall so that like the best people in Midgar could rise. That's why I love the Turks, because the Turks are the redeemable part of Shinra. They're the part you could extract out of Shinra and can actually retool into something good and something useful. Man, I don't know though. It's good. There's so many different ways they could go about it, and it would be hard to see that, like you said, maybe something happens where Reeve gets a unit of people together in Shinra, and this just becomes this task force of like information or something to help out the party or help out the cause. There's so much they could do with that, and I feel like they gave Midgar so, like the city of Midgar almost feels like its own character now. I want to feel that in the future. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, like even diving further into the Turks, it's like in the OG game, they're the ones who actually assist with getting rid of Don Corneo and Wutai. And it's and then their reason is like, oh, we're off the clock right now. It's like, I feel like they have good hearts, you know, and they want to do the right thing. But it's like when you're working for a company like Shinra, it's like you can only do so much. And they show another part of this with Rude and Reno when they're talking to Singh inside of Remake, where they regret the decision that they made when they were like attacking with the helicopter in Sector 7. And it's like they were kind of just wrestling like, I can't believe we did that. And Sang's trying to tell them like, oh no, you did the right thing. But it's like you see them kind of wrestling with the morality of the decision that they made. I want them to keep fleshing that out. I want them to show that there's good people here. You know, it's not just about the one main party and that's it, you know? So I thought that'd be pretty dope. Like just kind of experimenting more with that idea.
those aren't the only examples either, though, of the Turks like doing their own thing. Like they try and do that in Crisis Core as well. Like you know, like they're under orders to retrieve Zack, and what do they not do? They don't retrieve Zack. In fact, they say, "Oh, we're going to go try and save Zack." They fail, but
they did everything they could.
They did.
No, the Turks are definitely really interesting, and if anyone hasn't gone through before Crisis yet, it's definitely worth it. I'd love to see. That's what I want to see too. I want to see a little before Crisis. There's a really funny filler arc in Before Crisis where Rude goes on a date, and I would just love if they turned that into an anime. That's all I'm gonna say.
Make it an entire anime episode, yo.
By the way,
make that, you know, forget like you know these like really flesh out expansions like intermission. No, let's get the Rude expansion.
Just give me the Rude DLC, please.
You know,
I wouldn't even be mad.
Me neither. I'd be super happy with it. Like when you talk about,
I'd be like, yes, let's go.
Well, I actually kind of like not on the notion of Rude, but like, do you think like we are going to like play as Zack?
Yes.
Like in Rebirth?
Yes.
Like,
and
I bet better.
I bet my life. I bet my
think so
life.
too.
I want us to.
Like, I'm wondering if it's going to be like I don't know if you guys have played FF8, but like in FF8, how like you have like your like Laguna bits, like in like what like you play a Squall for the most of the time, but like then it cuts at very specific parts where like he like gets put in this dream and then he's playing as Laguna and then that ends up being like a thing later. I'm like wondering if it's going to be something like that where like at very specific moments you play as Zack only for a little bit, or what if they do like an entire like DLC expansion where you play as him, you know, and like he's like making like because he's obviously making his way back to Midgar, and so to go see Aerith, right? And then it's like he, you know, at the end of the Yuffie DLC, you know, we see him at the church. He gets there. Aerith she's presumed dead. So it's like, what's he gonna do now? Like, is he going to go straight to the crater? You know, like, are we gonna? I don't know. Like, what do you think? What do you guys think is gonna happen with the Zack stuff? Because I think that's like the biggest mystery to me, at least right now. Like, I don't really know what they're gonna do, but my goodness, I just want to play as him in the remake or in Rebirth. You know,
I
like,
would sell my soul to play as him in Rebirth.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get that. Yeah,
I think they're gonna do something similar to the intermission DLC, where it's like Yuffie coexisted in like what was already going on in the story, and things were happening simultaneously. So like maybe you'll play as the party for a split amount of time, and then it's like it'll be like one of those things where it's like meanwhile, and then like Zack's doing his thing trying to figure out where they are or something like that, or he's going on his own path, like, and then they eventually meet up or something at some point. But like I have no idea what to think of how they're going to incorporate Zack into the story for this, because it's like he was never there in the original one, you know? So it's like, how do you just throw this character that everyone knew just didn't exist at all technically in Final Fantasy VII for its entirety of its story, just a prequel to it? How do you add them to this and like make it make sense while keeping everything relevant still? Because you don't want to stray too far off from like how the ending's going to be, you know? And it's like, that was something I was thinking about. It's like, everybody was like so hyped, like, oh my gosh, Zack's going to be in it. I'm like, but how in the world does he fit in though? You know? And it's like, it's just going to be so interesting to try to figure out how that can work. Like, I know in the original game, I feel like what Zack can do, it's like, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but when Cloud gets the Mako poisoning, he's in the wheelchair, and then him and Tifa fall into the live stream, and then Tifa's in his subconscious and finally snaps him out of everything. Like, this is the truth. I feel like Zack's going to do that to Cloud instead of Tifa doing that to Cloud. He's going to be the one to be like, yo, this is what's going on, and kind of snap him out of that thing, maybe while they're fighting Sephiroth or something like that. Like, dude, he's trying to play tricks with you. Dude, like,
listen, I'm all for the convergence of the timelines. Like,
yes.
at the end, like, just, I don't care how it happens. Like, it's just a fanfic thing at this point, I feel like. But you know what? At the end, listen, we killed Fate. Things already messed up. The timeline's going to get messed up. Cloud is about to give the black materia to Sephiroth at the Northern Crater, but here comes Zack.
Zack slices his hand off
in the timeline, and then like he snaps him out of it, and then your final boss is it's Cloud and Zack versus Sephiroth or versus Genova or something. That would just be so sick, man. I don't know. I think it would be cool. Like, I think it's a fanfic moment, but like, come on, man.
I think,
like,
and I think the role he's going to play is just, it's going to very heavily depend on the route they're taking with this. You know,
and I think the route that
Yeah.
I think everything, if I'm being completely honest, I think how these events play out is all dependent on what Sephiroth's endgame is this time around. Because in the trailer, you know, the trailer poses that question: what's Sephiroth's endgame? Well, if you play the original, you know, like what he's trying to do, right? You know, he believes he's this descendant of the planet because he believes his mother's actually Jenova, so he's trying to destroy, you know, like.
He's trying to be like the most powerful being.
Yes,
drop a meteor, absorb the live stream,
because he believes that's his right, you know? And so, but, you know, they're asking this question, like, what's Sephiroth's endgame? Well, if you played the original, you know, but, like, obviously, this is in the remake, we're dealing with a much different Sephiroth. What is he planning? And I think whatever the heck he has is going to determine how these events play out.
I'm genuinely convinced that Sephiroth wanted this alternate reality to happen. Like, and we kind of mentioned this earlier.
100%.
But at the end of the game, I mean, he literally just let Cloud like beat him. You know, like he's just looking at him and he smiles.
He stood there.
I'm like, why didn't you block it? You know,
and then he stood there. He just smiles, bro. Like,
yeah. And then like even to
him, 7 seconds until the end, whatever that means. I know there's a lot of theories out there. Like, dude. He's toying with him, and that's always been Sephiroth saying, to toy with Cloud, you know?
I really think what it's coming down to is Sephiroth says, well, if we can't beat them, let's get them to join us, right? That's what happens on the edge of creation. Cloud, come with me, you know?
Let's defy destiny together.
I think, look, if you're Jenova, what do you want? You literally want to devour the whole planet. If you're Jenova is this virus that is trying to spread so that it can take over the planet like a host, and like Sephiroth says, and ride this planet through the cosmos. That's essentially what Jenova wants to do, right? So you know that no matter how powerful Sephiroth could be, right? He was practically a god at the end of OG FF7, and that ragtag group of misfits still took him out. So it's like, maybe just gaining all this power isn't the answer. Maybe the answer is we get everyone to submit to Jenova. And this is what I was kind of talking about before, where there's going to be this temptation, right? Because we all want to save Aerith. And maybe this other world that's being like set up is a way for Jenova to bait everybody in and be like, come with me. And who knows, maybe Genesis, and maybe like the checkmate move for those who are familiar with Dirge is maybe Genesis and Vice, maybe they're successful in summoning Omega again. And Omega gets summoned, and Meteor's coming, and they're gonna reset everything and fly. Like, and it's just
you got to deal with all these weapons that the planet just unleashed. Like, it's all
the kaiju who are all over the planet now,
like,
and you're gonna be tempted with this way out. This way out where you could have everything that you want.
Yeah, everything is so much better here. Come to this timeline. Oh my gosh, that actually, you know what?
That could be a real.
She manipulates your perceptions of reality, so she can literally do that for you.
Yeah,
like she can warp the world for you if you want.
Wow, because Sephiroth, you know, if Cloud and the party don't do exactly what they do, you know, like Sephiroth won't be stopped, and if him and Jenova can really actually convince them, like,
not only that.
Right? Like, I'm on board with this, you know?
Sephiroth demonstrated time and time again he could kill any of those party members whenever he wanted. In chapter 2, he freezes Aerith. In the middle of the alleyway, he freezes her. He could have just sliced her head off right there. We could be done with the whole game. But he doesn't. He doesn't want them dead. He wants them to join him. It's about a reunion, a conjoining. That's what he wants. He needs them alive, and he needs them under Jenova. Like that. That's what I have to think the ultimate plan is. Sephiroth's endgame.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Wow. No, I like it a lot. And
I really liked that.
That would kind of make, you know, this, what alternate timeline, whatever this stuff is with Zack, it would make it a lot more like significant to the story. You know, it's not just Zack is doing his own thing over here, whatever. Maybe there's a convergence of timelines in the end, and, you know, that's it. No, that would actually make this have more meaning than just whoa, Zack is alive. Things are different. Oh, that's cool. Let's go play with Zack a little bit over here and do whatever we're doing over here. No, I really, and the fact that like, we don't know like because like we were talking about this earlier, but like again, like Zack, he has Mako in him, so it's not obviously like Sephiroth would be able to probably control Zack
as much as he can control. Back.
Yeah, as much as he can control Cloud, and so it's like you can. Gosh, like I mean, if you can do that across timelines, if you have a way to do that, like I mean, my gosh, we have a lot that is there's so much that can happen, and there's so many possibilities, and gosh, that's the question: what's Sephiroth's endgame? And I think that is truly like that's how these things are going to play out. It's all going to be dependent on Sephiroth because this whole remake trilogy, it's the focus is on Sephiroth. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what I like about that, what I like about that too is that like they made it very clear how important Zack is, and for them to just be like, oh, he's just doing a thing over here, it just doesn't seem like it would fit, and that like you said adds a lot of value, and so that would fit.
Yeah, and the fact that like because the Rebirth trailer, we haven't even really talked about the trailer. Right, but like the Rebirth little teaser, it's like it's Cloud and Sephiroth are walking to the reactor. It's like that flashback. Like it's that, and I truly believe that's going to be the tutorial. I really believe we're going to start off there, and we're going to you're going to have Cloud, and you're going to learn how to play the game, and then you're going to be able to maybe control Sephiroth, and then your tutorial bosses, you fight this big red dragon, right, and then you learn team up. Like that's your tutorial, right. Snap back to reality. We're either at calm or we're going to calm or whatever. Because I don't think we really do get to Nibelheim stuff until we get to calm. So, but that's where we're going at the beginning. Yeah. So it's like that makes sense to me. And so, I think, frick, what was I saying? We were talking about the trailer. Okay, yeah. Because that's the first thing we see in the Rebirth trailer, and then then we see Zack carrying Cloud to Midgar, and it's like, dude, like this is important. We just don't know what it is.
Did you notice Cloud's tone of voice when he seemed to be talking about Zack? Did he not almost seem like angrily confused when he's like, "Where are you? What happened to you?"
Kind of.
Like he almost seemed agitated.
Yeah, is that who he was talking about her too?
My guess is Zack. I mean, none of us really know. A lot of that is could be taken completely out of context. Like I think when Tifa says, "Oh, you think I'm an imposter?" I think that's when they go back to Nibelheim and Shinra's doing the cover up, like none of that existed, and they're like, "You're not Tifa. Tifa died here 5 years ago." And, it's like, oh, so am I an imposter? So who knows when all these lines come from and what their context is. But I do think that's Cloud talking about Zack. I can't imagine who else would he say, where are you? What happened to you? Like, who else would he be saying that?
And you know what? That's actually one thing I'm really looking forward to in this next installment is the tension that's going to happen between the party because of all the stuff that's happening. And just because there's just so much, it's not just going to be happy-go-lucky, like we're going to go and we're going to go here and it's all going to be good. No, there's real conflict that happens with these characters. And the fact that sheesh, I mean, I would think Cloud, because of the Mako connection with Zack and Genova, he's probably got visions of Zack,
Oh, for
absolutely.
Sure.
So he's going to be, and he's going to I think maybe even because again, like we were talking about earlier, we're getting that Crisis Core remake remaster. That's gonna, what Crisis Core does, it does spoil that big twist with Cloud, and so it's I think Cloud very early on is gonna figure out, maybe earlier on, that might be something that's different. He actually figures out early on, he's not really, all this memory stuff that's going on, this stuff with Zack, but then it's how do we, I guess, go about that? Yeah, I'm excited for the tension. I want to see character. It's gonna sound mean. I want to see them broken, man, and divided, because that's gonna set up for such whatever the heck part 3 is gonna be called. Whether it's gonna be called Return or I don't know,
Revelation,
or I don't know what it's something.
I got it. No, someone in the chat.
It's gonna set up.
Someone in the chat nailed it. Eric the Dude says, all jokes aside, I think the final part is going to be called Restore. It would fit the theme of a subtitle starting in re, being 2 syllables, and would refer to the
2 syllables.
Would refer to the restoration of the planet or restoration of the timeline. Live stream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the theme fits. Like, think about. Think about how.
I think Eric nailed it.
I think he is too. And you know what? Because think about like Final Fantasy VII Remake. What's happening? There's a double meaning. Yeah, it's a remake, but guess what's happening? Sephiroth is remaking things, or at least he's trying to. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. What's happening? Well, Zack's alive. Mm-hmm. Genesis is probably coming back in some way, shape, or form. And if it plays out how I think it's going to play out, right, where I really think we're going to end at like the crater, and I think Cloud is going to give the black materia to Sephiroth, and I think he's going to be reborn. He's reborn. There's like 2 meanings there. Restore. Well, okay. We're restoring the planet, we're restoring the timeline, and we're restoring the party. We're getting the party back together. We're going on the quest for the huge materia. We're going to go hunt all these weapons down, and we're just restoring everything. It's Return of the Jedi. It is. It's Return of the Jedi. That's
no, we're breaking Barrett and Tifa out of jail. We're going to Cloud's like, oh, it's going to be no. I'm with you.
Tifa's gonna slap the crap out of Scarlet, and
dude, I'm so pumped for that scene.
60 FPS.
I am so pumped for that scene.
I hate to break it to you all, it's not happening. I hate to break it to you all.
You don't think so?
That's Yuffie's fight now. That's Yuffie's fight.
Yo, that's so true. That's actually so true. She's gonna slap the crap out of Scarlet, bro.
And I'm here for it.
This is for Sona.
Or maybe that's how Tifa and Yuffie bond. Maybe that's how Tifa and Yuffie bond. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they team up and slap the crap out of Scarlet together.
It's a rhythm game or something. Yo, just humming the Chocobo theme.
Yo, the Happy Turtle song plays, and you're just like slapping it.
Yo, the Happy Turtle OST.
Bro, those songs slap, bro. The Happy Turtle songs are so good. Like,
they are though.
Yo, but speaking of goofy shit, I need the gold saucer in this game to be not only massive and expansive.
Yes.
I want online functionality. I
want
us all to play mini games in the gold saucer together. That's what I want.
You know what I want?
Give me a mini game hub. Let me wreck all of you in Fort Condor right now.
Yo, Fort Condor battle PvP. I would love that.
Chocobo racing? Not
Chocobo
racing. Well, like Chocobo racing. Right?
Done correctly.
There we go.
Dude, give me an arcade machine that is literally just like the PS1 polygon version of like the Chocobo racing in like FF7 OG. I think it would be super meta. Like I just give it to me.
I love that.
I'm with
man.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Man, I hope the gold saucer really is like because honestly, so whenever I played through FF7 the first time, I actually like wasn't a huge fan of the gold saucer personally, but it was just because like I didn't really spend time there. Like I just went there for what the story did, and I never went back. And then I was playing through it again, and I was going back. I was like, wait, this is actually like really fun. Like I actually really like this is great. It's a great time, and it's arguably one of the biggest areas in the game, too. Like when you think about it, yeah, it should be like super goofy, man. Like let's like go all out. Like I want like have Dio in a Speedo in the arena, you know?
Dio, dude.
Like right? Like my goodness.
Jacked, man. He's jacked.
Whatever. Yeah, Jack dude in a Speedo, sure. Like why not? Like just go all out. Like
I also want to see them go all out on those Bugenhagen scenes. When he kind of takes you into like that planetarium sort of place.
And you know what?
Yo, they did so good in the Shinra lab where you have that CGI sequence and they show everything. If they do the same thing in Bugenhagen when they're explaining everything that's going on, it's like,
I wonder. Well,
that'd be so crazy.
Do you guys think Bugenhagen? Because I was kind of thinking that he has maybe like a similar awareness that Aerith and Sephiroth do.
Probably.
Like,
yep.
I don't know. I kind of want to see like. I think like we're gonna get like, Bugenhagen's gonna break everything down for us. But like, I just can't help but think like there's gonna be like some subtle moments where like he'll like look at Aerith or he'll look at Cloud or something, and then he'll say something like super subtly, and it's going to be referring to like all this timeline stuff that's going on, because if anyone else is going to be aware of what's happening outside of Aerith and Sephiroth, I think Bugenhagen really is the only other person that would be aware of like what's happening.
And that happens. I mean, if they keep it in the same order, that would happen pretty early on for part 2. Like Cosmo Canyon's one of the like first kind of places we go to. I hope we get a lot of like, I don't want to call it CGI, but pre-rendered, I think the best way to describe those certain cutscenes. Yeah. I hope we get a lot of those, because there weren't a lot of them in Remake, which, you know, is fine, but, you know, because the game was brilliant. Don't get me wrong. But I really would love to see a big chunk of those CGI scenes, because it sounds like, from at least the way the devs are talking, that this game is going to be massive in comparison to Remake in every way, not just with the maps and the gameplay and all that, but just with everything. And I would love to see that kind of covered on all fronts in Rebirth.
Yeah, and do you think like I mean, I don't, because I feel like like traversing, like let's talk about like the traversing the world itself. I mean, like, because you know, do you think it's gonna? I'd like to believe that it's gonna be kind of like wide linear, just kind of like, because like they're making Final Fantasy 16 wide linear, you know, in the sense of like you have this like you have these big zones.
I prefer it.
You can only and you can only get to certain places if you have certain things like a chocobo or whatever.
Every open world game is post-apocalyptic and basically empty, and that's for a reason.
Yes.
Give me wide linear, baby. I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it, you know? Like, and I think like, I don't know, I feel like I don't think like open world would work with this.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it would. No.
I think there's too much stuff that has to happen in a
I
particular
would love
order.
to, man.
Exactly.
I'll say like I would love to like, gosh, I mean, you know, like the open world in Final Fantasy 15, if you don't even want to call it that, very empty, right? But like, if there's one thing that I remember that was like kind of cool, at least it was like seeing like, you're like going, if you're going on like a hunt and then you can see like some of the enemies in the distance once they like render in, that is like, I want to be like going to like walking outside of the Chocobo farm, and I want to see like that Midgar serpent, like just like out there in the world. It's like, whoa, I could go like fight that thing. If I really wanted to, you know, and it's just like there, right? And then like you go there and then it's like this boss encounter, you know, kind of like Elden Ring, I guess, in a sense, like, because I just played like Elden Ring recently. You just see like this world boss just like roaming around, and then you could go up and fight it at any time. I think that would be kind of sick.
I think you're going to get stuff like that in part 3 for sure.
Oh, absolutely. With like the weapons and stuff like that. 100%. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
Alrighty, so we are already 90 minutes deep. If anybody sees something thrown in the chat they want to bring up, you're more than welcome to throw that in. But, you know, as far as we all go, is there anything Rebirth-wise we haven't spoken about that you guys would want to cover? Anything come to mind for any of you?
Oh, you guys got anything? I think we talked about a lot.
We did talk about a lot.
We did cover a lot. We did cover a lot.
I mean, sheesh. I mean,
oh well.
Yeah.
Here.
I don't know.
Do you guys want a group assignment? I think Umbra just gave us a group assignment from something we talked about.
Here we
earlier.
go.
Says it might be worth explaining to the audience the difference between a timeline and a world line. So the way
now we're entering Kingdom Hearts territory.
Oh gosh! No spoilers, please.
Just let me know.
Yeah, Manny hasn't played through all the Kingdom Hearts games.
We won't spoil nothing.
Yeah.
The way I understand it, like with timelines, is like, okay, here's the 4 of us. We're in timeline A, but in timeline B, I'm bald, and we're talking about Balan Wonderland because it was a smash hit. And these are 2 timelines happening on the same stream. One's here, one's here. In a world line, you almost have like a bigger, more expansive universe, and you have World A, which let's call that Apple World, and World B is Orange World. But in Orange World, a year is 365 days, and in Apple World, it's 80 days. Like these 2 different world lines kind of operate on their own time axes and kind of can have their own individual worlds between the 2. That's how I have always understood it. I don't know if you guys could help or add anything to
that
that.
makes sense.
No, I think you did a good job.
I have nothing to add to that.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think you hit it on the head.
Beautiful. So then I think we can move on. You know what we should talk about a little bit, I guess, is we didn't talk about a lot of Crisis Core reunion. So of the four of us, who actually got their hands on and played Crisis Core?
Every year.
100%.
We've got one of four of us, and I love
If
to see that.
cutscenes count, then yes.
No, that's all
Yeah,
I saw.
Man, we don't
That is
count,
a
bro.
disservice to yourself.
All right, so Kitties, let me ask you: Is the combat as much of a letdown as people make it out to be?
Absolutely not. I think the combat's one of the more charming parts about it. I think it's very unique. I think, it takes a lot of... Part of it kind of almost reminds me of like a Birth by Sleep sort of feel in some ways, where you can kind of customize and make the different types of moves and fighting style that you want, personally.
Really?
I think there's a lot of freedom there. Yeah, I think there's a lot of freedom there. I think, it all depends on how you want to play the game, Like, you can make different materia and moves based off of, how you want to do it, how you play best.
Interesting. I like that because a lot of Zack's character has to do with freedom. And if you're saying that
The price of freedom.
The price of freedom is steep. You're saying you can pretty much build Zack out and there's unique ways to kind of build his character out. Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, I'm with these guys. All I've really seen of it is just a cutscene.
There's a slot
movie.
machine.
That's exactly what I saw.
Okay, the slot machine is
machine.
one very small part of it. That is like one part, and those are like your different, like, I guess, bigger moves, and you don't really have control over those. Those are, very random, and you can get a very wide variety of things. You can get a summon, you can get, I don't know, like, it depends on the character that lines up. You can get a massive heal, you can get all kinds of different stuff, and that is one part of it. That part I don't even pay much attention to. The part I like is finding my materia and like fusing my materia to make the different moves I can have control over and use all the time.
Really is just like Birth by
That's cool.
Sleep.
Kind
Yeah.
of. Well, and
Well,
then
it's
you have to
PSP.
slot them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you have to slot them too. So like you can only have so many different things like in your deck, and you have to pick and choose.
How do you feel about Drew in the chat is saying they're adding shortcuts and camera movement to the combat? Is that something you think can make a leap of a difference?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, like, it's a fantastic game, my favorite game, right? And like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the combat's perfect. Like, I'm not saying that, but like, yeah, there were some times where I would have liked to move the camera a certain way, or, it would have made the fight a little easier if I could tilt the camera that way or this way. So yeah, I think that'll make it better for sure.
How does the pacing feel when you're actually playing the game? Because one of my complaints about Crisis Core has always been the pacing, but I never felt like that was fair because all I ever saw was just cutscene after cutscene. Whereas, playing the game kind of gives you a different feel. So do you feel like the pacing is smooth in Crisis Core, or how do you feel about that?
No, I think it's great because when you're watching the cutscenes, yeah, it's going to seem rushed. It's going to seem like you're moving through a lot of things at once. But there's a whole like cabinet of missions at your disposal, and they cover different things. Some of them cover, events with Wu Tai. Some of them cover, other places that you'll go. Some of them cover the slums. Like, you can go all over the place, and there's all these missions, and they can take quite a while to do. But like, I think that might help with some of your pacing issues.
Yeah, and I think some stuff it'll
I personally
help too.
like the missions.
Don't you also, you get like a bunch of collections of like emails and like messages from the characters. So there's stuff from Song.
And it's so
cute.
So cute. Oh my God. One of the cutest things in all of Crisis Core, I kid you not, is watching the fact that Zack and Sephiroth are total bros. Bros. Because it's something that you just don't see coming after playing OG7, right? You see Sephiroth as the big bad. You see him as the final boss. And then you play Crisis Core, and they're literally like calling each other on the phone. And like just casually talking. It's just like, it's such a cute, charming thing to see. And then I think that makes Sephiroth's like character change and development a lot more. Yeah, it does. No, because that's the thing, is that I think it makes it so much more impactful in that moment where he flips on a dime, where he like turns and changes. It makes that so much bigger,
Yeah.
So
Kind of feel like betrayed. You know?
Well, it's important.
Kind of, yeah.
It's important to humanize him too, right? Because like as far as OG and Remake are concerned, he's always this sort of like ethereal, otherworldly creature that could freeze characters in place or vanish or appear. Getting to see such a grounded human side of him is really, it really adds to the fact he became a villain, because then it makes him a tragedy, right? You know, I'm not in the boat that we need.
Makes him a tragedy. It builds on Zack's story, like, because essentially, I mean, Zack, you know, has to fight his best friend. Like, that sucks, you know, like. But no, I think having those reactions early on too, everything just builds so beautifully, and there's a reason it's my favorite.
And I'm glad they're bringing it back, because it's a game where, like, I must have watched the cutscenes to that game like 5 times. I will still when I'm bored, will put on the Sephiroth Genesis Angeal fight. Like, that's just
that scene is so sick.
It's one of my like boredom elixirs, man.
Can we talk about the fact that they got Sheba's voice actor from Neo Tooie to voice Genesis?
Dude,
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. Like, he fits so well. I don't know. It's just
gonna be great.
No, he could capture that sort of pompous, prestigious sort of delivery. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the voice actors in the original Crisis Core.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm thrilled we're doing new voices.
Me too.
That's kind of where I'm from.
Excited.
I love the old voices, I do.
I'm excited.
But I'm thrilled about the new stuff. I think Genesis the most could probably use a fresh voiceover.
Genesis is so cool.
I like Genesis. It's too much Loveless, and I love the Loveless trope.
No such thing. There's no such
Oh,
thing
Jesus.
as too much Loveless. How dare you?
No. There is such a thing as too
No.
much Loveless.
There is not such a thing as too much Loveless.
I
disagree.
think I'm indifferent on Genesis. Like, if he never showed up in the remake trilogy, I'd be fine.
No,
but if he did, I'd be like,
no, you shut up.
I'm just saying, if he did, okay.
I need cut to black, and then I need even if tomorrow is barren of promises.
Oh God!
Nothing shall forestall my return. And then he just comes out and just goes,
Oh, you gassed heads!
I'm all for it.
Oh,
You guys think we see Minerva in Rebirth? By the way. Everyone's talking Angeal and Genesis and Zack. What about Minerva? Is Minerva coming back?
I don't know.
I
don't think we necessarily need it.
I think so. I think you're going to start to see Aerith have inner dialogue with Minerva. That's what I think. I think Minerva is going to end up to Aerith what Jenova is to Sephiroth. I think that'll kind of be their quasi-new.
That would be interesting.
Because, like, remember, didn't they try to make it seem like the Whispers were the one giving Aerith the messages? They didn't just make it seem like they outright said that. That, like, every time the Whispers touch me, I lose a piece of myself. Maybe now the Whispers aren't there. Maybe now Minerva has to try to communicate with Aerith. I don't know. I feel like them roping in Crisis Core, I think it goes further than Zack. I think we're going to see a lot of Crisis Core in Rebirth.
Yeah.
And I am here for it.
I'm sure you are.
Give me all of the Crisis Core.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know how much, there was just, you were asking, like, is there anything else we want to talk about? I think really the only thing I was thinking of was, like, do you think, and maybe this isn't a part 2 thing, maybe it's a part 3 thing, but, like, do you think maybe they actually make, like, summons more part of, like, the main story? You know? Like, in terms of, like, trying to, like, more so in part 3, right? Because it's, like, all these, like there's diamond weapon, ruby weapon, these kaijus are, like, roaming around, and it's, like...
Knights of the Round is going to be a must.
Knights of the Round, right? Like, are the quests like that, like, part of? Do we have to actually do that as part of the main story? You know, I think that'd be a cool way to, like, just not make that a side quest, and to not just, you know, make that like a you know, like, to actually make that to give, like, whether it's part 3 or whatever, to give, like, part 3 to expand upon it more. I don't know. It's just a thought, because I know, like, Final Fantasy 16 is very, very going to be very summon heavy, and I can't help but think, like, maybe, like, you know, because like the devs who are working on that, or like Square Enix, like they're all in tandem with each other. I feel like at some points, and I can't help but think that like maybe like some like you said, maybe getting a golden chocobo, like and breeding that is like breeding a golden chocobo is part of the main quest.
Can you imagine?
To, like,
after all the crap they're gonna go through, after everything, you're gonna break Barrett and Tifa out of jail. You're like, Barrett, Tifa, come quick, we gotta breed chocobos, and they'll be like, Cloud, are you aware of what's going on?
And it takes forever to get a gold chocobo too. Yep. Like it literally takes forever. Even following like a guide, it still takes a while.
You gotta
even like, and I think even Drew was saying in the chat, like, give me Gongaga. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Gongaga was all side quest, wasn't it? In the original, wasn't it like more so of a side quest than like the main story, or did you actually like go there? I'm trying to remember.
I think they force you because there's a lot of important scenes that happen, like with Tifa and Aerith.
I just remember there being some missable stuff with like the Zack stuff in OG.
You can't miss it because in the OG, like both Tifa and Aerith get awkward in Gongaga because they know about Zack and they both know they can't bring up.
I'm remembering it wrong then. Never mind.
No, but
I thought there was.
There's a lot in OG Epic 7 you can end up skipping over. All I'm saying is,
I thought there was like some side. There's definitely like some side quests that definitely seem like
all of Wu-Tai
they shouldn't just be side quests.
We go there or I riot.
No, we're going. We're going, and Sissy will be there, having tea with Zack's parents, and then
this is all I want.
Can you imagine? You walk in, Sisney's like having tea with the parents. Tifa and Aerith are there. They're acting super weird because they can't bring up Zack.
Esty shows up with a pizza.
Oh my god!
And she's like, "Oh, Aerith, you're here." And then she says the word Zack, like, these are Zack's parents, and then it just folds. It just starts falling apart. I don't know. There's just so much that could be done with Gongaga this time is all I could think about. Like I think Cosmo Canyon is the place I'm looking forward to the most, just like aesthetically, just because like I love the theme, I love the look.
Oh my gosh,
Hagen's awesome. But
Cosmo Canyon, that was like Cosmo, like Nanaki's like entire story with like him like thinking that like his father like was like, he just like up and left, and like, he died a coward, but then learning like, no, he died like defending like our home, and like he died.
Oh man,
dude, that wrecked me the first time around. Like I legitimately like, cried.
Well, because you find out Nanaki's like a teenager. He's like, you think he's like this refined, distinguished, tough man.
Yeah, he might be voiced by Matt Mercer, but he is indeed like a teenager
still. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, yeah, I can't wait for. I want all the feels, man. Like even like I can't wait for Sid. Like I'm wondering like if they're gonna like.
We didn't even talk about Sid.
Yeah, we didn't. Like, are they gonna? I mean, I thought that was pretty fleshed out in the original. Like Sid's whole story and like his dream to like go to. To go to space, and I'm like wondering like. I'm just excited to just see, like, just like how in Remake, how all these things were brought to life, and like all these moments that happened in the original were brought to life, and just like really just like given such a charm that like really made like it just really made looking back at it just like, oh my gosh, like that's what I'm excited for the most, like the charm that Remake had, and like seeing that in Rebirth, and like just the character interactions and stuff, and like oh man, like I don't know, like I think it's I want to see like Sid and Barrett interact more, to be completely honest. Like they're very similar, like I want to see them interact more. Are we gonna have, when we get the airship, are we gonna have like the pilot who's like, he's like level 1, and then you're progressing through the game, and it's like level 5 pilot, and then he's like a little more hyped, and then you get to like level 20, and he's like, I'm ready to 28, no kid. Like I want that guy. I want level 20 pilot to be like in the game. Like I just, it's just it's stuff like that.
I don't want them to pull any punches with Sid. That's what I'm actually a little, because like it's very dark, and Sid is not a very moral guy when you first meet him.
No,
but I don't want that. I don't want them to pull punches on that. Like What's his?
You think we're gonna get some F bombs?
What's her name?
You think we're gonna get an F bomb from Sid?
Easy F bombs. What is his? He'd hate you for saying it, but what's his like girlfriend's name?
It's like I can't remember. I know it starts with an S. I just can't remember.
Whatever her name is, he's nasty to her because he takes out a lot of what happened in the past.
It's like he can't forgive her because like she's quote unquote like the reason for something, even though she was just trying to protect him.
Well, no, he can't forgive himself, and he takes it out on her.
Yeah,
because she said, "Sid, launch the rocket. It doesn't matter that I'll die. Launch the rocket. Launch the rocket." But Sid, as awful and nasty as he can be, he didn't have it in him to do that to her. And like that, there's something about that I love. That like as awful and nasty as he can be, there is still that man who sacrificed his dream.
Farah's her name, yeah.
There's still that man who sacrificed everything he worked for his entire life because he couldn't do that to her. And you know, there's something about that like duality of his personality that like there's something about that that's always drawn me to the character. That, and I need an explanation for why he's so freaking strong. It makes no sense. The dude is boozing all day. He chain smokes cigarettes. He should be coughing up a lung after the third turn. It makes no sense. Everyone else we know, half of them have been experimented on as humans. Tifa's like a lifelong martial artist. Barrett has a gun for an arm. Yuffie is a shinobi. Vincent is like half dead, half alive, lifelong turn.
Yeah,
like everyone, we have this explanation for why they're superhuman, and then it's like, oh yeah, that alcoholic who's just like sits at home all day yelling at his wife. Yeah, he's got the most HP. What?
It's some super alcohol, okay?
I need to know why. It's super booze. Maybe it's the booze.
Super boost.
Maybe
he's got a booze mechanic.
Maybe it's the chow beans. Maybe he's just binging the chow beans. I don't know. I need something. Oh my lord.
Also, did I say Matt Mercer? I meant Max Middleman. Voices. Is that
why I saw somebody?
I get them mixed up.
Somebody put a correction in the chat. I'm like,
I get them mixed up sometimes. They're two double M's. You know.
Honestly, now that I think about it, you know what I want? A night out on the town with Sid. I want a night where Sid rounds up the boys and they just cause trouble.
Give me an FF9 moment with like Zidane and Vivi, and they're just taking a leak like off the cliff and admiring the stars. Yeah, let me get that with like Cloud and Sid.
Oh my god!
Oh no, it would be Barrett and Sid. You know it'd be Barrett.
Oh my god!
Barrett would like pat him on the back, and then he'd like almost stumble over. And
oh my god!
Oh man!
I never knew I needed this.
But you know what? It goes a lot to what you were saying, Andy. It's that charm. They really captured that charm in Remake to the point that like I loved playing Remake. Like that combat is the best combat I've ever played in a game. To this day, I cannot get enough of it. I cannot get enough of it. But boy, when there was a cut scene of just all these characters interacting, I couldn't be happier to put my controller down for a minute. And just be like, I want to take this in.
Yeah. And like, I feel, you know, like, because at least, like, gosh, I feel like I'm watching a movie and, like, man, like, I'm okay with that. Like, it just feels, I don't know, like, yeah, I'm kind of with you. And, like, man, dude, like, team attacks, dude, like, I mean, okay, so, like, I'm playing through Persona 5 right now, and I love, like, the one thing that I'm, like, loving is, like, the show times. With like the characters, like, can we get like ultimate team attacks or something? Or like, I don't know, like it's like again, like it's just like some kind of cinematic cutscene, and then they do something like super funny or super like whatever, and it's like, and it does like a massive amount of damage. Like that would be so fun.
You know, they did do a couple of those in Remake. I like one that sticks in my head. If you remember, you're like in the sewers. And you do that move where like Tifa gets on Barrett's arm and Barrett like propels her up into the air.
Yeah.
If you could trigger that mid-battle as opposed to it being like you're like finishing cutscene, if you could trigger that like mid-battle,
that would be really cool.
That would be great. The other thing, this is something I actually talked about like a few episodes ago, but one thing I think they really need to clean up, their side quests. I think there were a lot of good side quests in Remake, but I think a lot of them were just, not only were they boring, they meant nothing. You talk to some random NPC, he's like, there are these guys in the yard, and I want to go to the yard, but the monsters are there, and then you go and do it, and then that's it. The guy's like, hey, thanks, and that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I have a formal demand to rescue more cats.
That wasn't so bad. See, that one was functional because it showed you how to get around Midgar a little bit.
I had to.
Yeah.
I think, like, I mean, I guess, like, because I barely remember any of the side quests outside of, like, finding the cats and, like, hunting a behemoth.
Do you remember the rewards?
And, like,
do you remember the rewards?
How about collecting all the music?
I don't remember the rewards.
I remember the
Oh gosh, the music.
But that's my
man.
problem. And like, I recently just played Final Fantasy X-2, and I think that whatever they thought up for side quests in Final Fantasy X-2, they should do from now on. For example, in Final Fantasy X-2, you have like characters that give you your side quests, right? So like Waka gives you side quests, and every time you do that side quest for Waka, you unlock a new Waka cutscene. I would like to see this.
That's cool.
Instead of just some random NPC over there, it's like, oh, you're gonna go do the Roche side quest. Now you get the Roche.
We never talked about Roche. Now that I think about it.
Okay, Roche is a Sephiroth clone, and we're gonna watch him slowly lose his mind, and that explains his fascination with Cloud.
Oh my god.
Pocket theory.
Wow. End of discussion.
I love it.
No, actually, yeah, I can't think of anything better.
That
was wild, and I loved it.
I'll freaking show you why, man.
He's getting off.
Here you go.
I've got a Sephiroth clone in my closet.
Let me pull this out. Where is this shit?
Yeah, well, because like because Roche like pulls up and then like I think
they're on the same page.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like everyone else gets their own freaking page, gets their own full thing, but they put Roche and Sephiroth right next to each other.
Interesting.
I don't know what's going on with that.
So what do you think is gonna I don't know, like what do you think is what do you think they're gonna do with them? Like you said, like we're gonna see him slowly deteriorate over.
You're gonna get a DLC of the Adventures of Roche and Johnny.
Oh my god!
Yo, both of them together would actually be so funny.
Yeah,
dude. Oh my gosh, man.
That actually would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious, dude.
Oh, God. Wow. We're coming up on 2 hours. Let's see. How much longer do we need to go for this to be the longest episode ever?
Oh, Kitty said her power flickered out or something.
Her power flickered out? Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
We could...
we see you, Kitties.
She looks really happy.
She went out. She did go out like a champ.
She's having a good time. That's what matters.
She did go out like a champ. Maybe this is a good place to wrap up then, actually. If she's... Like, her power is out? Is that what she said? Like...
I said it was like flicker. I can
wait,
she's back.
She gonna be able to come back? Can she make the grand return? Do we need to invite her?
Meteor is currently coming down from the sky. The power went out. Like things are happening.
The reunion.
As soon as you talk about Roche and Sephiroth, I don't know, man. Well, remind me a little bit, because actually I don't really remember a lot that happened with Roche outside of like there was a boss fight and like he showed up and he's like this crazy guy that like you know it was like there was a whole thing with him, but like I don't know.
Isn't he soldier second class?
Is he? Yeah, I can't remember. It's been a couple years since.
Because now that
I played the remake,
about it, they only do the experimentations on soldier on first class. They only do the experimentation on first.
Okay.
You become first class because you survived the experimentation. Like and that like all those Sephiroth clones you see and all those guys like reunion, like those are like the failed attempts.
There was like the failed soldier experiments.
Oh.
And I think he shows up in chapter 4, which is like
that's like a single part chapter. Yeah,
I don't think a single part of that's in the original game. They just kind of like added a lot of that in it, and you also see Roche because you play Fort Condor against him, and like he's actually hilarious, man. Like I would love to get more of his character, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say because like, what else could they do with him besides make him just like? I mean, because what you said, I totally agree. I think that's what's going to happen. Like he's just going to deteriorate over time. But like, but what impact is that going to have on? I guess like the story, like the overall story.
It's going to mess with Cloud. It's because Cloud's going to see Roche and go like, is this just what's going to happen to me? Is my brain going to turn to mush? Is that why I'm seeing things? Is that why I'm hearing things? You know, which something else I noticed. a lot of his like headache triggers in Remake really had anything to do with Zack. Like it was mostly Zack stuff that triggered him, right? The first thing that triggers him, Barrett goes, or is he a loyal little doggy? And then he has the big trip. And his biggest trip in the whole game is when Aerith says Zack's name. And then you see him and he has like this almost like, like this big thing. I know I keep coming back to it, but I feel like the Zack Cloud reunion is actually going to be awful. I think it's going to be, it's not going to be the happy-go-lucky thing we all think it is.
I think so too.
All right, let me read this in the chat before we start wrapping up. Umbra says, not in part 2, of course, but in part 3, when we have the meteor, I would love if part 3 of FF7 is literally just Lightning Returns again with the timed mechanic. LOL would be so good. I've never played Lightning Returns. Can anyone help?
Not.
I played part 1 and part 2, not part 3. The time mechanic by like you mean like the old school sequences in games where you have to like press the buttons at certain times to let like the sequence actually play successfly? Like,
I think you're thinking of quick time.
Yeah.
Like quick time events. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so you actually have a time limit to like stop Meteor? Like that would stress me out, man.
I mean,
time limits in games, bro.
That's basically Majora's Mask. That's basically Majora's Mask.
I love running my platinum relics in Crash Bandicoot, but like, bro, doing that for an entire game, like,
it gives me anxiety, bro.
I can't, bro.
I cannot do it. I hate time in game, bro. Like, let me take my time, please. Like, I hate it.
I mean, it could be like a thing where, like, I don't know, like Type 0 has like a system where like, you know, certain actions that you do actually passes time. So like, if you choose to like spend time with like a character, you know, 2 hours pass. If you decide to like venture outside and go explore, go do like some quests outside of I'm trying to remember what the hub area, the school area is, you know, that takes like 8 hours or something. And then whenever you spend all that time, then that's when the story progresses forward. So, I mean, you know, Meteor is imminent, right? It's coming. Yeah, that would be kind of something. It would stress me out, but it'd be interesting.
Well, it's been 2 hours. And that's a long time.
Wow.
That's a long
doesn't feel
time.
like it.
It doesn't feel like it at all. These things always fly. I guess I'll ask again. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that any of you would want to touch on?
Man, I don't know.
Because we covered a lot. We have covered a lot.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
I'm going to take that as an open no and say that it's time for us to wrap up here. So before we do that, if all of you would please, all their links are in the description. Make sure you follow the 3 of these amazing individuals. If all 3 of you, maybe just before we bounce out, give your farewell message, your final take about FF7 Rebirth, and let people know where they can find you. Somebody be aggressive and take it.
I was going to try to start at that time. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed my time here. I never really do stuff like this, but like doing things like this always reminds me just like how much I love video games, and there's other people out there like me who also are really passionate, just kind of want to talk about this stuff, which is awesome. I stream very inconsistently on Twitch under UNKNWNLIVE. Feel free to stop by when you can, and we'll have a good old time over there. I'm actually playing through the Kingdom Hearts series for the first time. I'm going to be playing Chain of Memories next, which is like not necessarily Final Fantasy related, but I'm excited to try that out. And I enjoyed my time here, and I hope you guys enjoyed having me.
Yeah, I'm AndyBru. Man, like Landy, again, thank you for inviting us on the podcast. It's always a great time. I am very excited for 7 Rebirth. I think 7 Rebirth has the potential to be one of the greatest Final Fantasy games of all time, and like just for what they're setting up. And I'm excited for Crisis Core, and I'm excited. Like I'm very excited. You know, and I haven't really. It's funny because I usually, I don't really. I feel like really the only thing that gets me this excited is like Kingdom Hearts stuff, but like it's really cool to like FF7 is doing something to me to get me wanting to talk about it so much and like getting me super excited. Like I really like where they're going with it. And yeah, you know, I'm on YouTube as AndyBru. I'm on Twitch as AndyBru48. I do a lot of JRPGs, action RPGs. Just like first playthroughs is my thing. We do some challenge runs occasionally. Currently doing like Neo: The World Ends With You on Ultimate Level 1. We're running some dev relics for Crash Bandicoot 4. So we just, there's all kinds of stuff you can expect there. So if you want to come hang out, you can. And if not, that's cool too.
Am I the only one who can't hear her?
I can hear her.
It sounds fine to me.
For some reason, I'm not able to hear her.
Can the chat hear her?
Could the chat hear Kitty? We need to know. Oh, what is this? Oh boy. Okay, let's fix that. There we go. Try it now. No. Oh yeah, the chat doesn't hear. Chat says silent. Interesting.
Oh,
because I can hear her. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think this is terrible because the way you guys are reacting, she said some really cool shit, and I was like, damn it. Of course.
She wasn't silent the whole time, was she?
No. There's no way
Okay.
she was silent.
Could you imagine? That'd be terrible.
That would be really tragic.
Why can you guys hear her, but we can't?
Oh,
So
I
believe the audio is being picked up on your computer. So whatever you can't hear, chat also can't hear. So that's why like they can't hear, you can't hear, but me and Andy can. So I don't know. The only thing I can think of is like leave call, join call, see if that can help resolve the issue.
Yeah, I think that's the best idea. If you want to try backing out and jumping back in, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
I can hear.
I can hear. Yeah.
You guys can hear her? Why can't I hear her? You know what? I'm gonna.
Me and Andy are just gonna say everything that she says.
Kitty, do you want me to translate for you? I can translate. I have to sound like you. Oh,
I can't get my voice that light, man.
I got this.
Yes, it'll be great.
Okay. Just word for word. Just word for word. Give it to me.
All right. I'm KittiesinMitties.
Go for it.
I'm KittiesinMitties.
This is my very first podcast.
We can hear
This was my very first. Okay. Okay. I was about to be so bad. I was about to be.
About the energy, though. The energy was being matched.
Okay. We can hear you now. We can hear
well, that's great. I didn't do anything.
Oh, now we can't see anything.
Oh, we're back. We're back.
Okay.
Wait, no. Wait.
All right. Let me try again.
On the if you look at like your stream, you can't see anything.
Wait, what?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So we are back.
Or maybe just me. Let me refresh. This is.
I can see.
No, we're fine. It's just my computer.
Just let her do her outro. Oh my gosh.
It's coming. It's on the way.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'm KittiesinMitties. This was my first ever podcast. I really did have such a great time. I love talking about things that I love with other people. And I love it when we don't necessarily agree either, because I love getting like all the different ideas and stuff. So that was super fun, super cool. I hope I get to do it again sometime. But yeah, so I stream on Twitch. I play a lot of JRPGs. Right now, I'm playing Through the World Ends With You because this month was its 15-year anniversary. So, woo! And when Crisis Core Reunion comes out, feel free to come by and watch me sob over Zack Fair. I mean, everyone's welcome.
I'll be there. Honestly,
thank you so much for having me, Landy.
It's my pleasure. All of you are always welcome here. If you have anything you ever want to chat about gaming, you let me know. We'll make it work. Hey, Guy, thanks for doing this. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. This was awesome.
This was great. I loved it.
I love this kind of stuff. So if you're hanging out on Twitch, please stick around for the raid. Let's see, whose evening can we ruin? How about Jash?
Oh my boy.
We're gonna stream. We're gonna raid Jash. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out. Big shout out to all of you. Shout out to the sages of the lodge, the mods, and of course our beautiful and amazing guests. Until next time.